Hey guys, Michael here. As musicians living in Portugal, we've had the opportunity to meet some truly fascinating musicians and artists. Some who have lived here their whole lives, while others like us who have moved abroad, looking for that new discovery, that new adventure. Well, Ron Rogers is one of those people. He lives his life and his art in 360 degrees. He's an artist in every way, and he shares his art all over the world. I thought it would be fun to do an interview, walk around Porto, ask him some questions, get a little glimpse into the life of a career musician and artist who has moved to Europe. Let's get to know Ron Rogers.
When I moved to Portugal, I brought 1,000 CDs with me, and everybody thought I was crazy, and I probably am. They're all under my bed.
I'm Ron Rogers, and I live in Porto, Portugal.
So are you happy living here in Porto?
Yes, I am happy living here. There's a lot of pluses to living here.
Are you a happy person in general?
I'm, in general, a happy person, yes.
Which was the healthiest city you lived in, Los Angeles or Portland?
Healthiest. People are very health conscious in Portland. I would say that Portland is healthier than Los Angeles, but it's just that, as everybody tries to look good in Los Angeles, but I don't know that they're necessarily healthy.
Are you healthier because of living in those cities?
I think I got a lot healthier after I left Texas, yeah.
What Los Angeles or Portland things have attached themselves to you?
I don't know.
When did you move here?
February 4th, 2020. About every 15 or 16 years, we pick up and move someplace new, and we decided we liked Portugal. We felt like it was safe. The weather, obviously, is nice. I lived in Austin from 74 to 89, and then I lived in Los Angeles, and then I lived in Portland, and now I live in Porto. Life in Porto is going good. Deborah and I have been rehearsing with a bass player the last 3 weeks, and we're going to have a full band rehearsal next week, so, we're having a good time. Well, yeah. I live next to the Porto Tennis Club, if anybody knows where that is. And it's a quiet neighborhood. We lived there 3 years, and we like our place, and we like our neighbors. And we're on the 11th floor, and we can see the Atlantic Ocean from our balcony. I don't know. I like it. First music that had any kind of impression on me was probably in the 50s when I was just a little kid. I think it was probably Fats Domino, Little Richard, the Coasters, Buddy Holly, Eddie Cochran. I just thought Little Richard was off the charts. Until the Beatles came along in '64, and I was there with everybody else watching them on Ed Sullivan, and that's when I got a guitar. And it was pretty much rock and roll for me. Growing up in Fort Worth, Texas, you're going to hear Bob Wills and Hank Williams and Lefty Frizzell. But they also played Jimmy Reed, Slim Harpo, Muddy Waters, Howlin' Wolf. I heard a lot of blues music mixed with all this rock and roll, so it was kind of cool. A lot of different things I got to hear as a kid growing up.
So who's inspired your music?
Well, like I said, the 50s rockers, the 60s pop and rock and roll, Beatles, Rolling Stones. I'm a big Jefferson Airplane fan. I got way into psychedelic music, Country Joe and the Fish and Captain Beefheart and his Magic Band. I listen to that kind of music a lot. But then I went off to North Texas State University and started a band called North 40, kind of country-ish, country rock. I moved to Austin, Texas, and I just had an acoustic guitar. I started meeting some people, and I started playing 2, 3, 4 times a week. I basically made my living as a musician for years. One band was pretty good called The Desires, and we had some popularity. That band broke up, and I met my wife Deborah, and she was a singer, so we started a band called Private Lives, and we put out a single, and we had a top 40 hit. We were number 9 for the year in '82. We had a Billboard pick of the week and with a big picture of the album, and it attracted some record labels, and Island came to see us saying they were offering us a record deal, and Island signed me to a publishing deal as a writer for 2 years, but that wasn't what we wanted. So when that all kind of fell apart, Deborah and I kept playing in Austin, but we eventually decided to move to Los Angeles, and I got a job. My first week there, I got a job at A&M Records in the recording studio. And Deborah went to work for a television production company, and that's what we did for the next 15 years. I started doing some TV and film music. I got with some music libraries. I had a recording studio in my backyard. I have always just kept doing music. I can't quit. So after we were 15 years in Los Angeles, we decided to move to Portland, Oregon, because I didn't want to die in LA. Portland has a lot of musicians, a lot of music going on there, a lot of live venues. And so I just started playing there, and I had about 3 different bands there. But the last one, the Wailing Wind, we were together 10 years, which is a long time to be in a band. But we had a good run up there. We put out 3 CDs, and it was good. It was good.
Like a vulture sitting on his perch outside the doors of the Holy Roller Church. He was stalking some sanctified soul who was sinking in despair. His bumper sticker said, "Brother, keep it weird." Truth be told, there was little that it fed. There was rumor that it even made the dead.
So tell us about your art.
I started out in the mid-'90s doing something I called shrines to dead musicians. And they were like 3D boxes, and I would put artists like Howlin' Wolf, I'd put his song titles and a picture of him. And I just got into painting the small portraits, like 4x6, that would go in these shrines. That kind of developed into me actually painting paintings. I'm pretty good at capturing the essence of the person, and I mean, I think people generally know who it is. But anyway, it just kind of developed to where I moved on to canvas and acrylics and got into painting. I really like it. Behind me there is kind of a abstract take on that's Sonny and Cher. Most of the time there's more of a likeness. And when I got here, I had a lot of JPEGs of my paintings. So I started doing prints. And now I'm selling those in a couple places. Deborah worked with Dr. John's first wife, Lorraine. I was doing my Shrines to Dead Musicians at the time, and so I asked Lorraine if I could give her one of my Professor Longhair boxes. A few weeks later, I was sitting at home and the phone rang, and I picked the phone up, and this voice says, "Is this Ron Rogers?" And I said, "Yeah, this is Ron." He said, "Hey Ron, this is Mac Rabenak. I want to thank you for that Professor Longhair box that you gave me. I'm going to take that back to New York City and put it in my apartment." A big thrill for me to give him a piece of my art, and he liked it. There's a theater in Portland that has a lot of my art hanging in the bar. Gallery Frame Shop in Florida is having a show of mine, and I think there's probably going to be about 20 pieces hanging there. So yeah, that's cool.
Tell us about recording your Portuguese Cowboy album.
I started recording that after we moved over here in 2020, February 2020. And then about a month later, we got locked down. So I was recording that in my bedroom, and what I would do is I would use a drum machine and lay down a basic track. So it was kind of this collaborative effort via the internet. I mean, people do that a lot these days. And they send you the files and you put it all together and mix it. I've never done an album like that before, but this is the first time I'd ever had people across the world. And since I didn't really know too many people here, that was kind of how I got it done. So it was interesting. You do what you got to do.
I was floating in a dream. Everything was slowing down. I was stuck in the machine. Everything was spinning round. All you Portuguese cowboys, you can find me underground. I turned my amplifier all the way on 10, and you'll never hear a sound.
I've been submitting some songs to television and movies on some leads that I've gotten. Deborah and I are working on a new band here. I'm still writing.
What's your philosophy on writing songs?
I don't know how you write songs. I just pick up a guitar and start playing and I start singing and I don't know where it comes from. And like I've heard a lot of other songwriters say, I don't want to think about it too much. I don't know where the muse comes from. I'll start with a drum beat and then I'll just come up with something to go along with that. I mean, here's something I've got in here now. And I'll just go, well, you know. All right, and so with that drum beat that we did a minute ago, this is where we ended up. This is a new tune that I've been working on. It's getting close.
Being an artist that used to rely on CD sales, what is the plan now for selling your music?
Well, that's a good question. Deborah and I, my wife, we were talking about this the other night about, do you make CDs anymore? You could sell them, I guess, at gigs, but you know, a lot of people don't even have CD players anymore. And you know, with streaming, I don't know how you sell anything.
Do you like being an artist in this current climate?
I guess I like being an artist. So you know, the climate changes all the time, and if you look back historically on the music business, artists always get screwed. About the only time in the history of the music business that artists did pretty well was in the 70s. It was because they were making so much more money than record labels were used to. Record labels were giving them more of the pie. But when the 80s came along, that stopped. Piece of the pie gets whittled down all the time. And now we have streaming and everybody relies on live performances, and it's a swamp that you got to figure out how to paddle your little boat through. So we are working some songs up, and the idea is to play some live shows. And Deborah's also working on some songs for release here in the near future. Come here, Deborah. Yeah. Deborah Giles.
Hey, Ron and I met in Austin in the early 1980s, and we started a band together because we had fallen in love. So anyway, we had a band, and Ron had always had his own bands and been lead singer in them, but this time it was me. And it was the first thing I'd ever done. So we put a single out, and then we put an album out, and then we did our thing with that, and then we moved to LA, and I took a very long break and just did my thing, worked in television. I am working on God knows what. I'm not a songwriter, but now I am because I wrote a song, so I guess that makes me a songwriter. And but it's all new to me. But I've had a great model to go by. The biggest problem is not writing songs like Ron writes songs. I'm going to probably put out an EP first, but it's mostly just angst about everything that's happened in my life that bothers me.
We're collaborating too. I mean, there's one song we're doing that we've recorded that we're doing in the band, but there are some other ones that she's coming up with lyrics, and she and I will get together and
Yeah.
figure out what those are.
Meanwhile, I'm in a big hurry to get something going, both just to be on stage again and to play some songs, some different songs, and not always be the backup singer. I got used to being in front, and so I really kind of miss that. So I'm hoping that it goes faster than it has been lately.
The first song that we're worked up that Deborah wrote, she sat down with the song and sang it to me, and I found the chords to it. So she did the melody and everything to this song. I think some of the other ones that she's been singing to me, I will probably need to get in there and do some things, but I don't know.
Wow. But in terms of collaborating, Ron's going to have to be there all the time for me.
How has living in Portugal affected your desire to create music?
When I first moved here, I think I was just coming out of having a job and the stress, and I'd moved here and I was retired and I didn't have to do anything. And we were at lunch with you guys, the Blisses, and you guys are all talking music. It made me feel bad. It just made me feel bad to sit there and think about all the things that I could have done that I didn't do, that I just gave up, because I was doing really well. We were doing really well. And I shouldn't have done that. And so when you guys tried to talk to me about, hey, what do you do? What do you like? What are your favorite singers? I was just like, I don't care. I don't want to do it. But then the more I was around you and everybody else was talking about music, I remembered how much I liked it. So, and then I think I realized that I had a lot of grief to deal with, and just, sort of the state of the world. My politics are involved in my songwriting. So I just started, my idea was, this is just for me. I'm not doing this for anybody else. Now it's kind of blossomed, and there are a lot of people that I know that don't know that I was ever a singer. And being in Portugal just allows you so much opportunity to freedom, to a new place to be, a new way to express some of the things, and that distance from the United States that you need sometimes to realize that there's more to life than living in our homeland.
So give us some knowledge or some profound words.
If you're a guitar player, buy an old amp, an old tube amp. Don't use a plug-in.
All right, do you have some inspiring words to other artists who want to move abroad?
I think that you would have a good time if you moved over here. I think you're playing music over here is going to be a lot different than playing music in the States. But like I've always said, the most fun I've ever had standing up was playing music.
And how about a favorite quote?
My famous quote today is what Tom Waits said. He said his definition of a gentleman is somebody who knows how to play the accordion but doesn't.
All right, well, I think that's it for us. Ron Rogers, thank you very much.